Hey guys, it's Joel from guntoter.org. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be talking about the Springfield Armory SA-35, which is a modern US-made clone of the FN Herstal P-35 or High Power, also known as the Browning High Power. Now before we get into that, if you could go down in the corner, as always, like, share, subscribe, and if you could go down into the description below, check out our Patreon page. Everything that we review here, we do purchase, and we do that so that you know you're getting the most bias-free review possible. We are not making stuff because someone sent us free stuff and is paying us to do so. So if you could help us out, that would be awesome. With all that said, let's go ahead and get into why you're actually here today. So I have been a fan of the High Power for a long time. I actually owned two previously. I owned a Mark III that was an Israeli surplus that was carried by their military/police forces, and I actually owned a commercial that was imported by Browning. So you may hear it referred to as the FN High Power, the FN P-35, or the Browning High Power. Technically, none of those names are wrong. P-35 is a military designation for it because it was adopted by the French Army in 1935. Now, Springfield Armory calls theirs the SA-35. And it is technically a clone of the High Power. It is not manufactured under license or anything like that. It's a clone. So there's a few things that we should probably get out of the way before we get into the review. One, the range that I have been shooting at does not allow photography or videography on the range. So there's not going to be a ton of cool B-roll footage of me blasting with this thing. I'm hoping to do that once I get back to my home range and get some cool footage and include that in a future video. But if you really, really need video of someone blasting with an SA-35, I recommend Grantham. He's got some cool stuff. Even Hickok 45 has video of him shooting. I'm not going to have that, so I apologize. Two, I am only 400 rounds into a planned 1,000 round test of this pistol. So I'm not going to make any judgments on its long-term endurance. So we're not there yet. I'm not even halfway there yet. So this is really more of an initial review and kind of a things I like about the gun so far. Three, this is not me evaluating the SA-35 against other modern handguns. I'm not going to, go head-to-head with a Glock. I'm not going to go head-to-head with a SIG. This is me evaluating the SA-35 versus the traditional FN High Power. And the things that Springfield did that I think make it a great option if you're interested in this style of pistol. So no B-roll footage yet, I'm working on it. No longevity, and I'm only going to talk about it versus other high powers. Now, there will be one allusion I will make to a modern handgun, but it has more to do with my evaluation of Springfield's modernization of the P-35 design than it does with a comparison between the two guns. So, caveats out of the way. If you're offended by any of the things I just said, again, jump off now and go see Grantham or somebody else. But if you're still interested, in my opinion, good for you. Let's get on with it. Very first thing I think that Springfield Armory did awesome on this gun was the trigger. If you've ever shot an old High Power, the French military specification required a magazine disconnect. And what that basically took the form of at the time was a plunger that ran from the trigger back into the magazine well. So every time you pulled the trigger, in addition to the weight of the actual trigger mechanism itself, acting on the sear and the hammer, you also had a plunger you were squeezing against, which made for super heavy, super squishy triggers. A military spec high power trigger is garbage, absolute garbage. The SA-35, on the other hand, not only did they remove the magazine disconnect, which was a great decision in and of itself, but according to Springfield Armory, they have also polished up the internals. And I'll be honest with you, it's got a very nice trigger. It is a single action trigger, and it's very nice. I have not actually gauged the trigger. That's something I plan to do when I get back to my home range. But from reading other reviews, it has gauged around 4 pounds. As far as perceived weight, I'd have to say that's probably fairly accurate. It really, honestly, it feels great, and it's a pretty crisp trigger, given especially the actual design of the trigger mechanism, which is kind of complex for what it is. So trigger is good, I like it. Second thing, and this is actually a positive and a negative, but I'll cover the positive first. The safety. Yes, it's a single action. Yes, it has a manual safety. Again, if you've ever handled old high powers, the original military safety is hot garbage. It's tiny, it's hard to manipulate, it's awful. Later safety's much easier to manipulate, but bulky. And if you have a really high grip, like if you really put your hand up on there, or if you're one of those people who likes to ride the safety, like really high grip and then ride the safety when you shoot, they were bulky enough that it was just not comfortable to actually ride that safety when you shoot. Springfield has done a great job of finding a compromise between something that's large enough to manipulate, but that is also contoured to the point where it's comfortable to ride it and it doesn't dig into your hand as you shoot. So big kudos to them for the safety. Trigger's awesome, safety's awesome, and honestly, that's 2 really key points on this gun. Third thing they did a really good job of, sights. Original military sights, basically if you've ever shot an old mil-spec 1911, you know what the original military sights were like. They were tiny and all black. Later editions did have these weird, instead of 3 dot sights, they were 3 vertical stripe sights. I don't know where they came up with that idea, but they weren't great either. Most people who shot these defensively or tactically, which at one point in time, high powers were actually used by the FBI's hostage rescue team. So it gives you an idea, they were used in the United States and they were used at very high levels. But most people changed out the sights. Springfield's stock sights that they put on here are actually really nice. I'll step to the side so we can put a picture up. Basically what you have is on the back, you have plain black U-notch sights, and on the front you have a single white dot. Now, in my opinion, and you can kind of see in the picture, that tends to draw your eyes to the front sight very quickly. And it's got a good space to it on the rear sight that it's precise enough without being super tight to where you're having trouble picking up the front sight. So I really think they did actually a really good job on the sights. And realistically, those 3 things by themselves are massive improvements to this platform. Another thing they did, you can see it's got a ring hammer. It's what they call a no-bite hammer. So for those of you who tend to ride nice and high, as you can see, the webbing of my hand is really close to the backside of that hammer. Now with the original high powers, there was a thing called hammer bite. And basically what it was as the gun recoiled and the hammer came back, it would actually pinch the webbing of your hand between the beaver tail here and the hammer. Springfield's does not seem to do that at all. Again, I'm only 400 rounds into it, but I've been doing aim fire, or slow aim fire, I should say, rapid fire, rhythm drills, all that stuff. No issues so far with the hammer biting. So I'm a big fan of how they redesigned that. Finally, they actually came in and beveled the mag well a little bit. Now, it's not crazy amounts of beveling, right? Like, it's not a magazine funnel, but it is an improvement over the straight cut that the original high powers had. So I like that they threw that feature in there. Really, if you read their website, their big thing is that they've modernized the high power. And honestly, I'd say they did a pretty good job. I like it. I've always liked the high powers. Like I said, I like how they feel in my hand. For those of you who are CZ shooters, they feel a lot like a CZ, which is kind of how I got into the CZ, as I had shot high powers before and liked how they felt. However, a couple things I don't like about it that either someone didn't think about and I don't know why, or they cheaped out on. Maybe they were trying to hit a certain price point, because the MSRP for this is only $6.99. But we'll go through those real quick. First thing, I talked about how awesome the safety was on the left side, which is for us right-handed shooters. As you can see here, there's something missing. An ambi safety. Come on, guys, really? Like, you're gonna tell me you modernized a pistol and you didn't put an ambi safety on it? Seriously? Anyway, that annoys me. I'm just gonna leave it at that. And even as a righty, if I need to shoot with my left hand for some reason, I'm gonna have to figure out some way to hit the safety with my left hand, and that's not gonna be fun. I really feel like that was a huge miss. Like, why is this not an ambi safety? Second, the grips. While I realize that a decent part of the marketing campaign for this gun is kind of an appeal to the past, right? Because, again, old design, 1935. Wood grips. Why? Does it look cool? Yeah. Do I like shooting with them? Not really. I feel like you could have sprung for some G10 or something. Even decent plastic ones, but the wood grips, while they look pretty, and they're not bad to shoot, right? They're not uncomfortable. I just feel like if you're talking about how much you've modernized a pistol, throwing very unmodern grips on there is maybe not the best way to win that. So I'm really kind of disappointed in the grips. I'm also kind of disappointed in the fact that Springfield Armory only sends one magazine with their pistols. And apparently that's not just a SA-35 thing. It's fairly common. But if you're going to talk about how modern the pistol is, I feel like you should at least include 2 to 3 magazines instead of 1. Nitpicky, but it's annoying. And this is more of a personal thing with how my hand fits the gun. I'm gonna throw a picture up here. I told you I'd make a comparison. Throw a picture up here with a CZ next to this. And you can see, hopefully you can kind of see the difference. Right here, it's really remarkably sharp. And that can get uncomfortable in extended shooting sessions. It's not awful, right? It's not tearing my hand up, but it could get uncomfortable. And it's also something that can be fixed very easily. So I would really like to see them knock that sharp edge off. That would be a huge improvement. Between that and the ambi safety, I would say the feel of this in your hand would be spot on if you could pull that off. Not hard to do. Yeah, you could undercut here a little bit, that would be cool. But to me, this is a lot less important as far as shooting and enjoying the shooting than knocking this little edge off here. So those are my thoughts. Overall, I will say, I really like it. I really like what they've done with it. It is a lot of fun to shoot. And for the 400 rounds I've put through it, it's been very reliable. No issues with failures to feed, failures to extract. I have not shot hollow points through it. They do claim that they have redesigned the feed ramp so that it feeds hollow points more reliably. I will test that as we're moving forward, but I have not had a chance to test it yet. So that's just a thought. But yeah, it's a fun gun to shoot. It really is. The improvements they have made, while I don't think they went far enough, as I've mentioned, the improvements they have made are really big improvements over the old FN high power. So I think, especially for the price point at MSRP $699, I'm seeing them on auction sites for more than that, like up in the 800s, which I think is a bit much. I think it's just because it's a little scarce right now. I'm really hoping once they get out in the market more, you'll see that drop, because I would love to see people pick these up. And I would love to see people pick them up more for like around the 600 to 650 mark, because I think that that would drive its popularity a lot. So those are my initial thoughts. I am going to keep shooting it. I am going to try to take it out to 1,000 rounds. Yes, I will try to get B-roll footage of me shooting it so you can see what I'm talking about as far as how comfortable it is to shoot and how it's easy to control the recoil. But yeah, there are other high power clones out there right now. EAA is importing some from Gerson in Turkey. I think Springfield could probably beat them easily. Gerson still keeps some of the original features like the magazine disconnect. So I'll tell you right there, caveat, I haven't shot the Gerson, but I can pretty much tell you just the fact that they kept the magazine disconnect, I prefer this gun. Because I've shot guns with magazine disconnects and the triggers are garbage. So there's that. One thing Gerson has done that I would like to see Springfield do is expand the line a little bit. Like if you're gonna go in and run a high power family, like run a family, due to the high power what they did to their 1911 families, right? Have a basic, have a like a tactical. Again, they have been used tactically. The FBI used them. There were other agencies that apparently used them too. So have that, and then make it compact. There was actually a company, I believe in Argentina, that was making them under license, but they also made a compact. They called it the Detective. I would love to see Springfield Armory do something like that. Like, I think they've got a good start, I really do. There's just some things I would like to see them improve and things I would like to see them expand. I'd also like to see them expand the magazine capacity. It does have a 15 round capacity, so not bad, but I'd love to see them, maybe do a base pad with a +2 or something. At least so it's as much as you can get out of, a stock Glock, right? Because honestly, this gun shoots better than a stock Glock, at least I think so. But I'm, 40, so there's that. Anyway, hope this was useful for you. I apologize that it wasn't more exciting. I'm not as cool as Garand Thumb, and I don't have his budget. But I hope it was useful, brought up some decent points that you can consider if you're looking at getting one of these versus maybe an original high power. If nothing else, the price point on these is a lot better than an original high power. Ever since FN discontinued them, prices jumped. I haven't seen, on auction sites, I haven't seen many for under $1,000. So you're already saving, $200+ by buying the Springfield versus trying to buy the original. Unless you just really want an original. If you're just interested in the platform because you just want one to shoot, I would go with this one versus an original. I really would. Now, if you're looking for the collectability, go for the original. Absolutely, find a surplus one. You can probably save some money on a surplus one. Like there's a few Israeli surpluses still out there. But if you want a high power and you want to shoot the gun and that's what it's for, it's not for collecting, take a serious look at the Springfield. I think it's worth it, and it's an enjoyable gun to shoot. So anyway, I got going again. Thanks for watching. I really hope this was useful. Again, if you could go down to the Patreon page and help us out, that would really be awesome. As I said, I'm trying to do a 1,000 round test, and well, ammo's expensive. Also, if you have questions about it, if you have comments about it, if you just love high powers and want to talk about that in the comments, knock yourselves out. Jump down in the comments. I do read them, I do respond to them. Sometimes it takes me a little longer, depending on what I have going on, but I do try to read and respond to all, or the vast majority of, if not all of the comments that I get. Except for that one guy who complained about me constantly plugging my Patreon. I'm not even gonna reply to that one. So thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you all again next time.